We're live! We're back with another Booth Bastards after a bit of a hiatus. We have a special show today. We're going to be recapping the last two cons that we were at, and we have some special guests, very special guests, joining us tonight. Along with my co-host in this, Daniel M. Davis, he has a very special person. I'll let Daniel introduce them.
Hey everybody, it's Daniel again, and this is Dawna, which you've seen probably on, not on the internet, but you've seen her at shows quite a bit, so she's my other half here at Steam Crow. And then we're joined by, not here, but remotely, Ashlie and Dane from Monkey Minions, so welcome guys.
Hi!
Yay!
Thanks for having us.
So this will be an interesting experiment, since this is the first time we've had double, like little couples chat show here thing. We asked Maya if she wanted to join me, but she wanted to get some rest tonight, so it was tax day. So I don't blame her for sleeping through this. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to kind of recap what we dealt with the last 2 weeks. All of us were at the same two shows. We went up to Emerald City, that's the Seattle Comic Con. And then this past weekend we were in Anaheim, California for WonderCon. So let's just kind of jump on in. Let's get some context to this. So let's talk about how you got to the show, so everyone kind of understands, where we're coming from.
We flew from Phoenix.
So that means that we had to do a lot of creative ways to get our big 10x20 up there. So that was a huge challenge. It's the hardest, easily the hardest show we do all year. So we can cover more details, I guess. Dane and Ashlie, how did you get to the show?
We rented a van and we drove
Yep.
to Emerald City. Yeah.
From
Portland.
From Portland.
From Portland. A whole 4.5 hours?
3.
The way we drive it.
Fish.
3 hours? Yeah, we
No, the way
drove.
Oh yeah,
We
always
drove from
duck.
Long Beach all the way up to Seattle,
Wow.
and then drove back,
Oh.
and then loaded in at Anaheim.
So would you do that again, Jason?
Actually, yes. It worked out really well. It solved one of our major problems, which was if we were to ship our booth up to Seattle like we have in the past, it would not have been back to us in time to load in at Anaheim. So that kind of forced us to make the decision to do the drive. But we actually enjoyed it. We did the drive in 3 days, both directions. We stopped at a friend's in Central California on the first day. So we could have done it in 2 days. Pushing through. The only downside to trying to do it in 2 days is that it would have required a complete day of just unconsciousness. So doing it in 3 days, got back at like 3 o'clock on Wednesday and slept just sort of laid on the couch and slept, and then Thursday loaded in at Anaheim. So yeah, I think we'll definitely be driving it, having access to our stuff, having control over how much we're loading, and we had a cargo rack on the back of our car so we could put in more stuff. Made a huge difference, and it made load in, load out a lot easier because you're not tied to a schedule. Like you don't have to worry about gate times and security lines and
Wait.
the box can be shipped there and all that stuff. So and the load in at the Washington State Convention Center was really easy.
Yeah.
So
Always easy.
yeah, and our hotel, we checked. Our hotel had parking. It was, you had to drop the car off, and they took care of it. But they were really accommodating. After we loaded the car for the last night, the valet basically said, "Oh, you're going to be taking off in the morning. I'll just keep your car up here in front so I can keep an eye on it."
Nice.
So when we wanted to, load the rest of it to get out of there, it was just, it was right there in the front, and it was really easy.
Wow.
So, yeah,
That's
that
good.
worked great. And having a car in Seattle was kind of nice because we could jump in the car and race off to Bamboo Garden and get orange balls.
Orange balls.
Oh,
Yeah.
orange balls.
Yes.
So how was it? So, afterwards, then I'm in Anaheim, which is a local show for me. It's a home show. So how was it for you guys for Anaheim? That was another flying show for you, Daniel? Or drive?
No, we drove, and that's a real normal and easy drive for us. So it was all pretty great. I mean, it's far easier than Emerald, but I think the main issue that I had was I was just wiped out. I was tired.
Well, and since we flew, we ended up walking everywhere in Seattle. And we've been training down here in Phoenix on flat ground, walking our 2 miles a day, doing what we're supposed to be doing, getting healthy and stuff. But it doesn't prepare you for those hills in Seattle and going up and down and lugging all your stuff, 5 bins carried full of like 50 pounds worth of stuff. So it wiped us out. And then when we got back, we had 2 days to completely pack for the Vanitar and then drive. And I was the most exhausted I had ever been driving to a con this time. So that was fun.
How was Monkey Minions load-in for Anaheim?
Well, our load-in was really easy in terms of we flew down to Anaheim.
Yeah.
And we had a smaller space in Anaheim, so we just rolled it in from across the street at the hotel, and that was super easy for us. But the just like 2 days to get back from Emerald City and to unload all of our stuff from that, and then to repack in a much smaller thing for a completely different setup. That like y'all said, it wiped me out.
Yeah, I was dead tired the whole weekend.
Right, I showed up just done.
That's what worked really well for us driving to Seattle was that we drove, loaded the car, drove to Seattle, left the car loaded, drove to Anaheim, and unloaded it. And not having to, shift gears for a different space, not having to, unpack and repack, made a huge difference for us. So the load-in was easy. So I didn't really feel the damage until Saturday. Saturday at WonderCon was just hell all day long.
Yeah.
So tired.
Yeah, man, I was like holding myself up with a chair going, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be here. But I'm probably not coherent right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I had to turn to coffee on Sunday.
Wow. Knowing you, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't typically. What's funny is one of the reasons why I don't do coffee that often is because it'll get me jittery. It'll get me a little bit too amped up. And Sunday, all it did was turn my personality back on. Otherwise, I would have been a golem in the booth. So, by Sunday, it was pretty much like we need to walk down to Coffee Bean and get some coffee flavored shakes.
Yeah.
And it helped a lot. That Sunday worked out a lot better that way.
Yeah, I can't emphasize how difficult it is to have multiple setups, different setups for your booth. It's a terrible thing. And, the challenge that we have is we can't get the setups we want at all the shows, or some shows, i.e. WonderCon, maybe aren't worth it for us to do a full 20x20 because they're an okay show, a good show, but not a great show.
Right.
So anyway, we get kind of trapped in this middle ground, and it's tough because you've got to reconfigure a bunch of stuff. You can't bring all your product. You can't bring your normal setups, all that.
Yep.
It's rough. So kids, just do one setup.
Well, I don't know if one setup really, like you said, it's one of those things where I don't know if you can get away from it. Some shows are more expensive. So. Like I'll probably do 3 or 4 different setups this year, just because of the nature of the shows. Like we have a couple of small shows where it's like I'm just trying to support the show, and it's not an expensive show, but I couldn't conceive of bringing everything. We'll have bigger shows where it's like I'm busting at the seams now at our corner 10x10, but I can't justify going to a 20 on all shows.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some shows I can, and then a lot of the shows that you can justify it, it's hard to get get that extra space. It's a catch-22.
It is, yeah. It's a big challenge.
Yeah. So like I like the challenge of trying to maximize the space I'm in. I want to make sure that I've completely utilized my space. So I'm happy with my 10x10 corner. So the next step is to try to move up to a 10x20. But I want to be able to utilize that entire space well. I don't want to just be spread out. Take a 10x10 and just push everything apart. I want to be able to activate it. So that that becomes a real challenge when it's not a driving show. When you're looking at flying into a show, even if like Gen Con. I know Gen Con is a show that is worthy of me spending the extra money and getting a bigger booth, but I'd have to ship the whole thing out there. I have the extra delays of the time ahead of the show when it's shipping, the time after the show when it's shipping. That's kind of frightening.
And
So
the shipping schedules have been really weird this year for us. Like even basic priority boxes have not arrived always when they were supposed to. There have been some delays, and so that's getting scarier too.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I didn't do any shows in January or February. Was a lot of them would be flying shows, and shipping stuff in those months with the weather, you never know.
Right.
So it's like it'd have to be a show I can drive to, and none of the shows I can drive to are really of any interest that early in the year.
Right.
Yeah. Understand that.
So any secrets? This is, back-to-back shows. It's something that a lot of us get to deal with, and it's not always something we get to decide on. Thanks to WonderCon floating around with its pagan holiday. So. Any secrets as to how you face a double show, a doubleheader show?
I try and pack for both shows, especially like with things like our 5x7s and our 8x10s. So what I do with those is I have 3 sets of each, and so I'll have it ready for like 3 shows in a row. So all I have to do is come home and unload that set and then put in the new set, which is stocked to the hilt, which is nice. Except for Emerald City, I didn't take, I was able to take what I took to the Book Fest and just took that to Seattle with us because it didn't weigh as much. So there was still enough stock in my 8x10s to get us through that show. Right. So I got to cheat on that a little bit, but I really try and pack for multiple shows. It just makes my life easier because if I'm sitting there sorting and counting for one, it doesn't take much more effort to count for 2 more shows.
And also knowing that it's coming up, I mean, we pre-ordered enough product for these and other shows so that we don't have to have the impossibility of restocking things you have to send out to a printer. So a lot of it's just having a longer-term view of the shows, Instead of just the one show, you've got many to kind of look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about health-wise? What about your physical survival of 2 shows in a row?
I try and eat way more vegetarian when I'm at a convention. I found that if I stick with a vegetarian meal, I am way happier. I don't feel sluggish. I don't feel sick. I've noticed lately that I've had to cut back on my coffee and I'm doing more tea instead of coffee. Yeah, I know, Seattle girl, and I got to cut back on my coffee.
I'm like, as I'm drinking coffee, I'm like, what?
Yeah, but I've just, that's what I've had to focus on. So that, for me, anyways, that's what works for me. The more vegetarian I eat, the way better off I am.
Well, I think the issue, too, is that, we eat a lot of home-cooked stuff here, and I go out to eat, and suddenly I'm eating blocks of cheese and super salt and lots of meat, and I think I'm gonna let you order for me. I think it would be a lot better because suddenly I'm eating a deep fried, pig thing, and I'm like, not good. That's one thing. Also, for us, we've been sleeping on people's couches a lot for shows in the past. Yeah. This time around, we decided to hotel it, and that saved us an hour of sleep, probably 2 hours a day, right? Because we got an hour in and an hour out of town every day that's lost. And
I thank you greatly for that.
That is a huge difference because Anaheim kicked my butt, and I'm convinced it's because it was a local show and I drove home every day. And even though it wasn't, it's like a 25-minute drive at that time of day, it's still a good chunk of your time that is dedicated to getting up early enough to avoid traffic, so we got up extra early on some of the days, making sure. So it's like it would be easier, like flying shows and staying at a hotel ultimately are easier than shows where I get to sleep in my own bed.
Yep.
I agree.
It's totally true.
I agree. And you don't have to fight for a parking spot either, because then you got to get up an extra half hour early, not only to just beat the traffic, but to beat everybody who wants that parking spot. So
Yeah.
Right. So we're getting up at like 5 in the morning every day.
Yep. I always find the shows that, like, our home shows, like, I joke and I'm like, yeah, I just roll out of bed and I can show up, but basically it's that, and it's hard to convince myself I should get my ass out of bed and get to the show because it's right there. I'm like, I got time, let's just snooze.
No.
Whereas if you're at a hotel, at a show, that's what you're there for. You're not at home, so that psychological click is not taking place.
How does Seattle feel for you guys? Since you're in Portland, does Seattle feel like a local show, or is that?
So to me, Seattle kind of feels like a home show just because we've been doing it so long. But it's still very much, we're at a hotel, we're up, we're doing the show. Like, it's still work. We don't have that. I don't have that disconnect into my brain going, I can hit the snooze because I'm at home, because I'm not.
Right. Yeah, we have family in Seattle, so it does, for us, it's starting to feel like a home show, where it's someplace we're really comfortable.
Yep.
But obviously we're flying. Either we fly or we drove for 3 days, which completely changes your mindset when you've been, in a car for 48 hours thinking about the show, load-in that you're going to be doing.
Right.
Yeah, that's a hell of a reset there. The driving for 3 days.
That's kind of why I liked it, because it allows you time, which typically the days before a show, especially when it's a home show, you're like cramming every little project you can think of.
Yep.
In not sleeping because it's a home show and you're in your studio and you're still working late at night.
Yep.
And that hard like disconnect that you do, where it's like I'm just driving and listening to music and looking at stuff. And it's a healthy break.
So, Jason, did you take the scenic route up? Did you take like the West Coast Highway, or did you go up like the 5?
Yeah, we actually took the 99, which is before the 5, so that's the inland before the 5 connected through. So because our friends live along the 99, so we drove up the 99, stayed with our friends up in Turlock, which is like 4 hours, I want to say, away from our home. Maybe 5 hours from our home. South of Sacramento, like an hour and a half south of Sacramento. And that was our first drive. So not a full day. Like if we got up after traffic, and we were hanging out with them by like 4 or 5 o'clock. So
Cool.
Not a rough day. And then we did a full day drive to Eugene, where we got dinner on day 2, and then crashed at a hotel north of Eugene, and then drove from there to Seattle and loaded in on day 3.
Cool.
And I've kind of liked the drive part of a day and load in, instead of driving into the end city and having to think of like, what do I do with my car?
Yeah.
Right.
Like take everything into the hotel room. So it's like having that like half day of just sort of driving in and then doing load in, and then it's just done. Like the drive's done, the load in's done. Now I can go get dinner and not worry about the booth.
Isn't Turlock the name of a caveman?
Is Turlock the name of a caveman?
I'm sure it is.
It was the name of my rock iguana, because I got it from my friend who lives in Turlock. Yeah, it's Stanislaus County, so that is UC Stanislaus is there. So not a really well-known place, but that's where all of our almonds were grown until they finally started to realize that you can't grow almonds in California without water.
Right.
Oh,
Change that.
So a lot of them, I believe, are changing over to walnuts.
okay.
Yeah, but it's a great. I mean, it's one of those things where, yes, it's a long time to be driving, but we kind of mix in, seeing people that we haven't, we don't get a lot of chances to see.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my oldest friends, so it's a chance to go and visit him and the family that I grew up with, and it makes it a lot more rewarding to be on the road.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Jason, what do you do to stay healthy?
Obviously, sleep is a challenge on these things. So, and I have a lot of sleep issues where if my mind starts cranking, I can't sleep. So one of the things that I have done that has helped a lot is I play podcasts on my tablet. And I do this all the time now, where instead of like flipping on the TV set at night, I just start podcasts, and very specific ones. I find the ones that aren't going to be loud and boisterous, and they tend to keep my mind from getting fixated on something and keeping me awake. And that's helped a lot. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, panicked that oh God, did I forget something, I just hit play and I knock out again.
Oh, good.
That makes a huge difference for me. Hydration is really important, and that's probably, I think, one of the major things to forget about when we're in the booth.
Yeah.
Right.
Is getting enough hydration. It's easy when you're being handed coffee or tea, but that's not going to get you through the whole, 16 hours that you're in the convention hall. So we have little filter bottles, little squeezy water bottles. You can get them at like Target, that has a little cartridge filter in them, so we don't have to worry where the water's coming from. So usually when any of us is taking a break or walking out, they will grab whatever bottles are empty or getting low and refill them, so that there's always kind of like a flow of water. And that way everybody is reminding everyone else, like, is your water empty? And that helps remind you, that you need to be drinking. Even with that, I did not drink a whole lot, at the shows. But I try to constantly get tea, and luckily both Washington State and Anaheim have a great cafe in the lobby, so it's easy to get drinks or tea. And we were located really close to those lobbies at both shows. That's the key thing. Eating right, having a good routine, I think, makes a big difference. Emerald City, Paige and I started doing 7-minute workouts every night. That was funny.
Really?
Oh yeah, we'd be exhausted, and it'd be like 10 o'clock at night. We're like, all right, we got 7 minutes. Let's do this. So Paige is in really good shape, so that's kind of intimidating. So that helped me to do the workouts. But so yeah, it's one of those things where it's really easy to fall into a routine of, I'm on vacation, so I'm going to eat horribly, and I'm going to gorge on food. And that becomes kind of because you finish the show, like, you haven't eaten anything all day, and you're really freaking hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I have frightened myself with the amounts of food that I can put down after a show.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you kind of have to balance it, and so I'm always looking for like a healthy breakfast or something I can do that'll be healthy snacks in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
That will get me through, because the impulse is going to be to throw chocolate and junk food. So
That's so easily accessible too, and it comes in nice individual packages, and you can throw it in your mouth, and it's fast. You don't have to think about it.
It's one
I
meal.
have found one of the big secrets. Position your booth next to Badali, because they go to a grocery store and they get healthy food. So you have someone to trade your chocolate raisins with.
Nice.
There you
End up
go.
with like vegetables and fruit. That was really helpful in Emerald City. They supplied
There
us
you
with
go.
fruit. We supplied them with junk food.
Yay.
We actually, we found a bunch of dried fruit, like good quality dried fruit and nuts and stuff at was it a CVS?
The CVS.
In Anaheim. That was really close, and that was really helpful, because unlike potato chips or granola bars for me, that don't really feel like I've eaten anything, the dried fruit actually had some weight. So I felt like I had actually eaten something, and it gave me a little bit of that natural sugar, which kind of keeps you going.
Yeah,
Cool.
snacking healthy makes a huge difference in the booth, because we don't have time to, you're not going to get a cheeseburger. We don't have time or space to sit down and have a meal. So yeah, the impulse is to just throw candy bars down our throats.
Hey, let's talk about WonderCon in terms of a show, though, now. What were you guys' impressions of the show, I guess, first off, this year? Jason?
For us, it was our best WonderCon.
Oh, that's good.
Our location wasn't significantly different than last year, but our experience was, which I think is kind of weird. Like, we were over one aisle, and we were on a wider aisle, I think, vertically than we were before. Our crosswalk was worse than last year because it had the pillars in it. So it wasn't like you could conveniently walk from one end or one side to the opposite side. But the vertical from the doors back, that side of our corner was wider, although I didn't see more traffic on it. So it was a weird thing where I don't think we had more traffic than we did last year, but our experience was much, much better. Like, people took notice of us, and it wasn't a different booth. So we had a good show in that sense. So we had the best show we've had at WonderCon. WonderCon still feels more like work than other shows do. So Emerald City feels like fun. It's I feel like we're part of a Comic-Con, whereas WonderCon definitely feels like I am exhibiting at a show. Like I'm working here. There's a strange detachment from the audience, and I think part of that is because it's such an industry show that even though it almost like most of the show feels like you're talking to other artists, other exhibitors, businessmen, that kind of thing. So it's great for that, though. I mean, it's great for connections, but it doesn't have the fan vibe going on.
Yeah, like 50% of the badges I saw were professional badges.
In our area.
And my biggest complaint is from my booth, all I got to look at were vinyl pop toys. Which I'm just wondering when they cut out the middleman and just change it to the Funko Vinyl Pop Toy Con.
There were a lot of them on the floor. There were a lot of Funko booths or whatever.
Yeah, I think the organizations need to notice that. I'm sure the people who sign up for their booths aren't saying, we sell only vinyl pop toys, but I think the organizers need to take note of that, because it was ridiculous. The booth across from us was a toy store. They had 3 booths on the floor because we talked to the manager, and that was his. It was a comic book store, so it's comic book and toys and things. And the booth across from us was the things. And that was his word. So he's like, yeah, I have to go, keep an eye on the comic, booth and the. So I can kind of understand that. But the one diagonal from us was literally just vinyl pop toys. They had no displays. They had no signage. They just stacked their tables and rolled in shelves, and the exterior of the booth. So on their corner line was just a wall of pop toys, and that's all they were selling. And they weren't the only booth that I noticed that walking around that was doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I saw a few of those.
So yeah, that's kind of my takeaway. So it's a lot of talking to people where you're like, okay, great, I can't wait to see you at this other show, and toy vendors.
Well, I feel like we're in small press at WonderCon. And I wasn't at last year's WonderCon, but I was at the 2 previous, and we've been in a different, small press has been in a different spot on the floor every single year. And so we got a lot of people that came by Sunday and were like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for small press all weekend. We had a lot of that. And it's frustrating when you work so hard to get people used to coming to find you, and they can't find you because you're in a different place every year. So.
And that's. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just so it felt like kind of like you said, disconnected and like a struggle. But then I think that was an additional struggle we had this year, every year.
Yeah, the way they separated the artist's alley and the small press. Yeah. And they had a third thing that was also tabling.
The dealer's tables, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it was kind of weird because. It was one of those things where, I mean, I understand there's a difference between artists' alley. You can argue there's a difference between artists' alley and small press, but the way they laid it out kind of implied that there were big areas and they were on opposite ends of the floor, which was like 5 halls apart. So that's a good long distance. It's not like you could see one from the other, and I think that would be really confusing.
People were. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never even made it to small press, but I did make it through Artist Alley, and it felt like it was in the boonies. I mean, it was way away and kind of tucked away too a little bit, and it did feel like I was in the wastelands in the distance. And sadly didn't recognize anybody even over there, which is also kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, it was weird because I think that's where the main entrance was this year. Was everybody had to filter through Artist Alley to get to everybody else.
Yeah, that's where they would queue them in the morning.
Yeah.
If you had your badge, once the show opened up, you could walk in any of the doors.
Right.
Which I appreciate. I like shows that start the entrance through Artist Alley.
Mhm.
I like that much better than starting the entrance through the prestige vendors that some of the shows have done, where it's the companies that have 16 booths on the floor already.
Yeah.
Right.
You're walking through. That's your entranceway. Is that that T-shirt booth that's going to be everywhere selling the same thing.
Yep.
So I like going through the randomness of Artist Alley before you filter into the larger exhibitors. But putting the small press on the opposite end of the floor, as far away from the entrance as humanly possible, was weird. And it was in an area, if you're, it's a dead zone in the lobby because that's where the staircase goes down to the lower level that wasn't being used. So It wasn't like that was going to get any traffic from the doors, the lobby doors. You pretty much had to walk in through the doors by me and then take a hard left and walk 2 halls to find small press.
And that would be cool if we were always there, but because it gets moved every year, the people that are really looking for the small press have a hard time finding it. Yeah. And that can be difficult. But I don't know, we saw a lot of people who were really excited, but late on Sunday, many of them didn't have any money left.
Yeah.
It felt like this year that money was tighter, at least in our area. We had an improvement in our placement in that we were facing a 20-foot aisle in front of us and maybe to the side too. So it was great, and you could see us from a really long ways away. But we were having people that were agonizing over a single button sale, a single 5x7 sale, and so we did a lot of transactions, but they were little tiny ones. Yep. And so that was kind of a rough thing. What are your thoughts?
Well, and I heard a lot of, are you guys going to be at San Diego?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yes. So we're going to be at San Diego.
Very frustrating thing about WonderCon.
So they're shopping for San Diego, and I'm like, okay. So I heard it more this year than I ever had before.
Yeah.
So. But I think, I mean, we got to meet a lot of new people that had never seen us.
Or never been to a con.
Yeah, or never been to a con. So there was some of that newbie training going on, too, at WonderCon. And a lot of people who want to go to San Diego but can't get in, so they've decided that WonderCon's going to be their con to go to.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if that has a long-term effect on WonderCon, because every year it's getting more and more difficult. Not more difficult to get into San Diego, but because of the randomness of getting into San Diego, it's more and more difficult to know that you're in that you're going to San Diego, that you have tickets to San Diego. So it'll be interesting to see if WonderCon picks up that slack. Now, you all heard the word that next year, because WonderCon decides to follow Easter, they don't have Anaheim Convention Center.
Yeah.
Yep.
Moving to LA.
Yeah, so they're going to do 1 year at the LA Convention Center next year, which it's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird. I'm not a fan of shows in LA. It's not that I hate LA. It's just that there's so much stuff going on in LA that in downtown LA is not the center of LA, that it makes it really difficult to get anybody's attention for a show in LA. I think the convention center is fine. The shows we've done there, Load In, Load Out, was fine. It'll be interesting. It's closer to the professionals, which we've kind of already pointed out. Kind of fill the floor anyway, so I guess there'll be more of them.
Is that possible?
Yeah. What do they cap how many professional badges they give out, or will they just accept anybody who's a professional?
I was
supposed to cap it.
Well, it was interesting because I would see like a professional badge and then like professional badges on like the family.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, so the whole family comes.
Like San Diego, you could do that. They'd have like your professional badge, and then you'd have a professional guest. So you could bring the wife and the kids in with your professional thing. But
as
then
far as I know,
big.
the only requirement to have a professional badge is to just have a listing in IMDb. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how that affects the show next year. But talk about the annoyance of having your location moved.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Are they going to mirror the Anaheim Convention Center floor, which they can't do it wholly because it doesn't have the big islands in LA. But
Right.
Are they going to kind of mirror, like, just sort of like take the group and kind of plop it in the same shape, or is it going to be utter chaos and we will just be completely randomized on the floor?
Ugh.
We'll
and,
see.
and the thing is, too, is like, the motivation is, I don't know, like it's just like we just have to throw the show for a year. So yeah, I don't know, because there's not a lot of retribution. I'll drop the show then. I don't know. Like, there's not. It's a weird thing.
Well, and I haven't been on any of the other floors because the only show we've ever done there was the first Kamikaze.
In the garage.
Yes, down in the parking garage.
Yeah, we only
Yeah.
did the second one, so
Year 2, they went upstairs
yeah.
to the main floor, and load-in was easy.
Right.
There were no issues there. I can't really comment on how the show looks, just because it was Kamikaze, and I did not have a good experience, so I wasn't
Amen.
in a position to be able to judge the facilities. I was
Depends on the rage.
Yes, I was done at that point. There was no carpet on the floor, I don't recall, but WonderCon puts carpet down, thankfully. So it'll be interesting. I do know that driving's an issue in LA. The traffic is an issue. You do a show at Anaheim, and Anaheim knows how to control traffic. They've got their traffic control out there. Disney's, excess parking lots are used. So it's one of those things where where you're parking. Doesn't matter how late you show up. Yes, you might have to sit in, parking lines for a while. But in LA, that can get really bad. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts it.
Man,
There's no hotels directly
No.
facing the convention center. That's my big complaint about LA's convention center, is it has no support facilities.
Yep.
So that'll be a challenge. But at least it's not the weekend, next to Emerald City. So
That's true. My concern too is that anytime you move a show, it usually takes a downturn for a year. At least it has for the shows that we've done, and
At that point.
and I've not heard anybody go, yeah, it's going to LA. Like, even the fans on the WonderCon site are like, "Bleh,
Yeah.
bring it back to San Francisco." Which isn't exactly a vote for LA.
Right.
So I don't know. It's a little discouraging.
it's going to be really early in the year. It's going to be at an awkward location. The only upside is mass transit. They've got the blue line and the red lines there, so people can get in on the train system.
Yeah.
But that would be a completely different audience. Which, there's a train from Pasadena. There's a train from from Long Beach. So they've got the Gold Line now. So there's a lot of connective bits. It'll be interesting to see how that comes together. But I agree, it's going to be an awkward year in LA, and then it's going to be followed by another awkward year in Anaheim as it moves back.
Yep.
Well, hopefully. I think part of what we saw with part of the reason that the moving everything around every year was so confusing is you did have a lot of people that we talked to at WonderCon that had been, even if they couldn't get in now, they'd been to San Diego, and they understood that things are always kind of in the same place in San Diego. Like if small press is your thing, small press is always in the same place as San Diego. Artist Alley is always, the neighborhoods and everything. So hopefully they'll figure that out, because they've kind of trained their audience to do that. That would be my biggest. Please.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of shows have these shuffles on the floor, significant shuffles on the floor, just because a lot of shows are hitting the wall of their spaces. So shows that were small are now expanding and taking up the rest of the facility, and I think we're going to see a lot of turmoil on our shows this year.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Probably not just this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ongoing. Yeah, I think that's something we're facing. You know, it's funny because it's really easy to look at the history of San Diego, and a few other shows that have been around like 10 years. But as all of these shows start, like other shows start popping up, and these shows start hitting their limits, like it all seems like we're hitting this like pocket of a lot of this turbulence where new shows are popping in, and small shows that have been around for a long time exploded, and venues have to be shifted and moved, and I think it's going to be a new normal for us.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to do a slideshow. I took photographs of our booths and some of our friends' booths at Emerald City. I didn't do this at WonderCon. I barely walked around at WonderCon. I just did one run to the back wall to go to talk to somebody, and that was just about it for me at WonderCon, if it wasn't going to go get tea or coffee. But Emerald City, I made a point of racing out and kind of hitting everybody's booths and getting photographs. So let's see if my screen share is going to work for us today. Share that. And it might be a little bit small, but hopefully we can all see what's going on. So we'll start off. We've got Daniel standing in his Steam Crow booth. Anything you want to point out about this configuration there, Daniel?
I don't know. Again, this is our booth version that has the least amount of stuff. So fixtures were homemade or bins or things that we can make. So it's not our deluxe kind of display. So yeah, that's the main gist there.
It's so difficult, and we thought we had more like 20 by 30s for the top part, and we ended up only having the exact number of clips on the wall. So of course the first day somebody buys one right off the top, so then we have this empty blank space for the rest of the show, which we have to try and figure out how to fill in. And then we could only bring one shirt design with us because that's all I could afford for one bin. And so we picked HP, and he did well there, but it was just, logistically, Daniel's grabbing cardboard scraps from, all the vendors next to us from chucking their stuff so that we can make signs that we couldn't bring with us or banners that we couldn't bring with us. And it was just, Seattle's just a hard show. So we're driving next year. We're doing something totally different. So you can actually, I can actually set up and not take the time to reconfigure my entire booth every time I get up there to Seattle.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
We got Dennis, who failed to show up tonight.
Shame on Dennis.
Yeah, so there's Dennis's setup. His is it's looking pretty good. I remember he did this. I don't know how long he's been doing the high corner. I remember hearing horror stories about. He told us about what was that, Salt Lake City, where he almost dropped it on himself.
Yeah, I think this is his second season with it.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Mm-hmm.
There is Monkey Minion. You see, I don't know if I got a good shot. I love what you did with your 10 by 20 by having the kiosk things out on the outside corners.
Thank you.
I thought that was really cool. And of course, I managed to not get a photograph. Oh, it was really crowded. I couldn't step back far enough. Yeah. So, anything you want to mention about what your configuration here? Was this a new layout for you?
It was a totally new layout. We floundered a lot with the going up from a 10 by 10 corner up to the 10 by 20. This one I thought was the best so far. We did figure out that our stands are stuck or something. They don't.
Yeah. They don't go full extension all the way up.
If you tighten the knob too tight, you'll distort the pipe. I've done that on mine now. Actually, I didn't do it. My brother helped me in Portland last year, and it's like, what happened to this? Oh, right, Todd was here. So it takes like two people to get them past that point.
Right.
So we're struggling with that on our main system right now.
We've done that. You did it too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got to figure that thing out. Maybe tell Dane to cool it with his Strong.
Cool it, Dane.
And you can notice that he is using the little caffeine injection system to keep
Yes.
himself
Right.
awake there.
Very important.
Totally.
Can't miss
This was
that.
on Sunday. I can tell because of the color of his shirt.
Yeah, this was Sunday.
So
And I
definitely.
ran around. I was having a hard time getting a clean photograph of your booth because there was such a crowd.
Well, which we liked. And I don't know. We were next to Steam Crow. Did you guys notice, was there flickering light, or was I just crazy throughout the weekend? Did it seem like sometimes it got dim and sometimes brighter? Maybe I'm...
You should see a doctor.
I don't know if it was on your end, but our side at Emerald City, the lights actually dropped out. The sodium or whatever lights, the brighter lights. So they just had the fluorescence running. The can lights were out at 2 points in the weekend. I don't know if somebody flipped the switch or what, but we know. So our side went dark, fairly dark, for a good long while. You guys might have been like right past that, so it just kind of looked like it was dimming and going back up.
Right.
That might have been it.
Like I couldn't see anything going off, but I could definitely feel a difference in light.
Yeah.
All right.
Man, I felt it at Anaheim at WonderCon. The lights were bugging the crap out of my eyes.
Yes. WonderCon, the light was much worse
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for us. Here's our booth at Emerald City. That's our standard corner. Only things new, I don't really have it in this shot. I have a little cart that kind of fills in one of the edges. That kind of closes off our walkway on one side, which was really helpful because next to us is Badali, and people have a tendency, because they're doing jewelry, people have a tendency to do that. I'm going to stand in front of your booth, but shop the next booth
Yeah.
thing. So having my cart close the wall off and make it continuous really took care of that frustration. I don't mind if they stand in front. It's when they stand in your booth and then shop over the pole.
Yes.
So that helps out a lot. I have a new bamboo banner behind the Fezarama sign on top,
Great.
That looks nice.
Yeah.
which I like a lot. I don't like the glare off of vinyl, so I mean you can see it in the vinyl banners below that, and that always annoyed me. So I switched to this bamboo one, and I'm much happier about that. I'm still messing around with the configuration of how I hang it. So I put this one forward, and I don't really like it. I think I'm going to shift back to the backward. But this is my dialed-in corner, and I'm really happy with it. So now I have to figure out how to deal with a 10 by 20. So that this is comfortable. Now I have to freak out about doing 10 by 20s.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, there's Badali. That's Janelle. She was right next to us in a 10 by 20. They flew in, so all of their displays have to break down. And we actually brought the acrylic stands up on the side. Let me get my arrow over there. So these tower stands, I just said, if is there anything you want to throw in the car since we'll see you in 4 days? But I thought they had a good layout. There is our friends Lunacy.
Yeah.
Fire there.
Whew. Nice action.
That's a smaller layout than they did at WonderCon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since they're from San Diego, obviously, this is a flying show for them. Cody Vrosh, who flew in for this. I don't know. I didn't ask him how much he carried with him this time. That's Seychelles kind of hidden behind the ties. Yeah, I didn't ask because he has his full banner hanging up. Normally, when you do it in a fly show, it's just like a suitcase.
No, I think they drove because we caught him.
You're right. They did drive to
outside.
Emerald City. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, they drove.
Yeah, they drove to Emerald City because we talked about that. So that's why he's got more of his banners.
Yeah, he
Because
was
had
moving
a
his
bunch
car.
of books. That's right. He brought a pile of books.
Yeah.
Our friend Adam, who's out of Portland, so it's a local show, writer of Amelia Cole. So I'd like to get the shot of... what was really funny about this is you'll notice the grating behind his booth.
Yeah.
That's the intake for the air conditioning. So
Oh.
the Amelia Cole banner was in front of that on the first day, and then the air conditioning kicked in, and it sucked it up against the grating. It was like, humming at them, so they freaked out and have to move it over.
Oh my goodness.
But it took 30 men to move it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mike from Tiki Machine. He was at the back hall. More of Mike's stuff. He's an animator.
Yep.
And there is Zoms in a hidden little 10 in line. Also in the back hall that time. Yep, and that is our loop.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello again.
So, Dane and Ashlie, I have a question with this new booth configuration, and I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. Did you find that people hovered in those open little corners of your booth, or were they shop and then go?
So there was a little bit of hovering, but it didn't feel like there was noticeably more hovering than you get anytime you have an open space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like if there was a little bit more, it was counterbalanced. People would try to take shortcuts to get around crowds, and then they would get snagged by our product. Like the cards, they would get, oh, wait, what is this thing that I'm walking by? And then they would come up and buy a card, and I'm like, oh, you just paid for your shortcut. Yes. So,
That's good.
yeah, like at Emerald City at least, I felt like it wasn't terrible. I wouldn't necessarily. There are other shows we've done where you get a lot more of that. Oh, there's an open space of any kind, so I'm going to plant myself here in the way.
Yeah, I don't think I'd bring this setup to like Phoenix.
Maybe I don't.
Phoenix people, they find a dead spot, they tend to like to congregate.
It's the anime kids. It's not Phoenix. It's the anime kids.
No,
So-
it's true, and that's where they rearrange their backpack and wait for their friend, and yeah.
Yeah, so like we've had some anime shows where I definitely wouldn't do any kind of configuration like that because you just never, like, people would, I don't know, sit down and have lunch or something. But
Whip out the guitar, start singing.
but
Yay!
but at Emerald City, I felt like it worked out. They were pretty good about it.
How'd your button machine perform?
I was thrilled. We almost ran out of stuff.
Yeah.
So
We got really close to running out of bubbles.
So that worked out. Like, it worked out better than expected. I did find out that little kids are bendy and magic, so you got to watch the groups of little kids. But
Yeah,
other than that, like, it was
We
great.
found that if we find little groups of children gathered around our button machine, guarantee one's got their arm stuck up inside of it.
You got So, but that was like, I almost feel like they earned it just because I wouldn't have thought they could get their arm up there. Like, no, like the button machine was great. I'm looking forward to using it at some other shows later this year. I was really excited about how well it worked.
Good.
Cool. Yeah, I thought that configuration was a great interactive kind of layout.
Yeah, like it was so much. I felt like some of our other things we've done are just a lot less friendly, and this one was more open and friendly. So
You mean the giant fortress isn't friendly? What?
You're in the parapet?
We have the little window we open to talk to people.
The boiling buckets of oil up on top.
The cauldron.
I never quite got that logistic down. We stopped using it.
Because you don't want to have to pay for the electricity.
Crockpot.
The crock pot keeps cooling off too quickly, and then it's all congealed.
Damn it.
It's tepid oil. Oh no.
My wrist.
So let's just put end the context or bracket this and talk about what everyone is dealing with now that they've returned from 2 shows. How long did it take you to recover, and what are you panicking about now?
I would say that we haven't had a chance to recover yet. I don't think. Feeling better.
It took about 2 days. It's been more yoga, less walking, because it's starting to get hot here now, and so that means I have to get up earlier in order to go for a walk and not like burn to death. So it's easier to turn on the fan and open the door because it's still fairly cool. So we can open our screen door in the back, and Kate and I have been doing yoga. So that's been good. But as far as, it's taken me a couple of days just to get, to the point where I didn't feel like I was a bump on a log where I just needed to sit and not do anything.
Yeah.
So what are we panicking about now?
Shirts.
Yeah, we just got a load of shirts in finally. We get into town, we pre-plan everything where we ordered some stock and then let our printer do it for the next couple weeks while we're out of town. So when we get home, we have time to grab it and process them. But of course, we get home and our printer's like, oh, I don't know what ink colors I used on any of these shirts that I printed a few times. So we had to go and drop off shirts for them and stuff. But anyway, we just got them today. So we're processing all that for the next few shows and just getting ready for the Festival of Books and all that.
Yeah, and starting to prep for the dynamic pairing of Denver and Phoenix, because we have to, I have to get all my ducks in a row. So that still is it's a lot closer than I think it is, and so I'm trying to be prepared for that. And there's some things that I would like to get done that I hope to get done, but I don't know if they're going to get done because I still have to get Cade through school too, and school ends right as Phoenix begins.
Yeah.
So his, it's just going to be really complicated just to get that kid finished with online school and making sure that he's got everything in and passed, and hopefully they won't ask for their computer to be sent back while we're in Phoenix.
I'm sure they will.
So, but yeah, they probably will. So, just have to be ready for that too. But yeah, so shirts.
How about Monkey Minion? How are you guys doing?
I don't know if I've.
I think we're on day 2 of our being home.
Let's just point out that one of those days was at Disneyland.
That's true.
So not a lot of sympathy from us.
However, we did 30,000 steps or something. So.
Yeah, we did.
So that's restful.
we ended up doing at Disneyland. So we do Disneyland a little differently than most people, where we do the Twilight Pass and then we cram as many damn rides as we can. So we ended up doing almost 20 rides in a little less than 8 hours.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So we were running around the park trying to get all in.
What are the hours of the Twilight Pass? I don't know about this Twilight Pass.
It's 4 to close.
And
okay.
The regular park closes at midnight. So yeah, we did 8 hours of solid running back and forth.
We took Becky and James along with us
for part of it.
And finally, they quit at 10. They were like, "We're out. We can't do it anymore."
Lightweights.
But okay, so beyond Disneyland, we're still trying to get awake and aware again. But we Tuesday for Calgary, Tuesday night. So we're just right back into show prep.
Yeah. Well, add to that the place that we get our prints just let us know that they're raising their prices significantly. So we're trying to get as many prints ordered as we can before the prices go up. So that'll be awesome.
It never changes. It's just always more stuff. So, but yeah, it's just Calgary prep, just more one more show, and then luckily I think we get 3 weeks until Phoenix,
Denver,
and Denver,
Phoenix,
and then,
Denver, and Austin come on.
Yeah, that whole mess. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, the Denver Phoenix Awesome Con split's gonna be fun because we'll both go to Denver, and then we'll split. And she'll fly off to Washington, D.C., and I will drive to Phoenix. So, yeah. It'll be awesome. I think. I'm scared.
Yeah, we're still recovering. I think yesterday was a lot of dealing with running errands. Monday, unconscious for most of the day. Tuesday was kind of like getting back into the groove of things, and then yesterday we went down to help Joe kind of do a physical inventory and get caught up with all of our shipments. So today was like the first day in the studio where I got to really look at my long list of to-dos and start freaking out because we're restocking and I have to ship the booth and most of my product on the 15th for C2E2. So everything's getting kind of mobilized, and that's one of those stressful, week and a half of shipping everything out, and then do a con, and then stress out about whether it shows back up. Right after Chicago, we're gonna do a local one day that weekend, so it'll be kind of like, the stuff I have here and in a mini booth, not my main booth, because it'll probably be in transit. And then the weekend after that, I have a weekender event, drive local, like Palm Springs, so just a few hours. Not doing Denver and not missing Denver, and focus on Phoenix. So I've got a lot of little shows that are kind of filling in the space in between. So a lot of random things to kind of keep track of, and a lot of large-scale projects that feel like they will never happen because every week it's like, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. That's coming up, but I'll get to that later. So it's a little freaky. And then once we get past Phoenix, we have a little bit of a break, which I'm looking forward to already, which disturbs me because I'm supposed to be on a little bit of a break now. So I can't wait until June. Yeah, so that's where we are now. And like I said, I think had the second show at WonderCon been a hotel, I don't think I would have been as bad off as driving home every night. And because like Saturday night drove home and worked for a few hours.
Yeah.
So because I'm there and I needed to restock some things, so I did. And if I was at a hotel, it would have been like, nope, I'm out. I can't restock that. No reason to stress over it.
Yeah,
it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is where we stand. So if you are watching, it's going to be chaotic as far as our recording schedule goes for a while, because as you can tell, we're all kind of everywhere for the next couple months. So let's wrap this up by saying where people can find us on the interwebs. Dane, Ashlie, where can they find you on the internet?
We can be found at monkeyminionpress.com, which has been recently revamped, which is awesome.
Yay! I love the new logo.
Thank you. And then I'm at Monkey Minion on Twitter. She's at Ashlie Hammond on Twitter.
Like an adult?
Yeah, she's a grown-up.
I refuse.
All right. Any other you on the Instagram or Tumblr stuff?
Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm on Instagram at Monkey Minion Press and Tumblr at Monkey Minion Press. So, yeah.
Monkey Minion Press.
Monkey Minion Press. Monkey Minion Press.
Monkey Minion Press. Steam Crow, where are you at on the internets?
We're on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr under Steam Crow, more or less. Just Google Steam Crow, you'll find something of ours somewhere, and that's both me and Dawna, since she doesn't really.
You won't find me.
Can't find her. She's hiding from all of you wisely, and I am talking to all of you instead of her. But it is all right. But yeah, Google Steam Crow, you'll find us. But steamcrow.com is your main vehicle of choice. And find us. Jason, where are you to be found?
Well, you can find us, of course, at Fezorama.com. I'm on Instagram and on the Twitter at Fezmonger, and then Fezorama on the Facebook and all the other stuff. And I probably should have a Tumblr page. I think I'm going to do a Tumblr page. I have stuff.
Done.
Yeah. It's
cool.
what all the cool kids are doing these days.
Probably not.
So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Dane. Thank you, Ashlie. Thank you, Dawna, for adding to this show that Daniel and I stare at and talk to each other for days on end. And if you're watching to this point, thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them in that stuff below. You know how to get a hold of us. We just covered all that crap. So, you know, and there'll be another one eventually. Hopefully we'll squeeze something in next week before Daniel has to hit the road to the LA Festival of Book.
Yes.
Yes, it's possible if we do it early in the week.
Yep.
Okay. So, any last words? Because I am going to kill you now.
Oh, thank you.
Abracadabra.
Adios.
Can I sleep now?
Yes, you
Yes.
can. You may sleep. I'm happy to see that you took your bedtime coffee. You may go to sleep. Damn you and your ability to handle caffeine.
Yes, I know.
All right, we're out of here.